everyone. Hello, hello. All right, I never know where I'm supposed to sit. All right, my name is Nora Gherbi, and I'm the founder of Who Cares Chronicles. And I'm also the creator of the Environmental Intelligence Principles. As a long-standing partner of ChangeNOW since the beginning, I am thrilled to host this discussion and panel today. So, since its inception, ChangeNOW has been rooted into action. And part of our mission, part of our partnership, is to invite audiences through compelling content to change narratives and to get an opportunity to explore different perspectives. This panel today is titled Diverse Brains, Diverse Solutions. We now know that no brain stays the same over the course of a lifetime. This is why understanding and embracing neurodiversity is fundamental to our societies. Our brains are like living gardens, not static landscapes. They constantly adapt and evolve, just like nature itself. This is why I have curated the Environmental Intelligence Principles, a training program for cultivating a whole new way of seeing the world. Through this training, we can transform our mindsets and perspectives on ecology and how we interact with the planet that sustains us. But I believe that we can do this for every topic in our lives. The brain is an incredibly dynamic organ that undergoes significant changes throughout our lives. And the brain has a lifelong neuroplasticity, which means that it can adapt and it can change throughout a life. This allows us to learn new things, to form new memories, and even recover from brain injuries. Neurodiversity narratives often focuses on how brains differ, but it's also important to acknowledge that these differences are one of the greatest strengths of our societies. So what does that mean for expanding mindsets? With our speakers today, we will be able to focus on potential. Instead of limitation, we can focus on the potential for growth and adaptation of all our brains. And we will also delve into lifelong learning. We can all benefit from a lifelong learning approach. Understanding that brains are diverse and that they change over time allows for more tailored support for individuals with learning differences or cognitive challenges. In essence, embracing the dynamic nature of the brain challenges the idea of fixed categories and emphasizes on the potential for growth throughout life. So without further ado, to start this conversation, I would like to welcome on stage Yann Bucaille, the founder of Café Joyeux. Please join me. I would like to welcome, and drum roll, the strongest woman in the world, Leah Bavoil, Olympic athlete and powerlifting world champion. And I would also like to welcome Meeta Thareja. She's the Chief People and Social Innovation Officer at Auticon Group. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Yann, I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to start with you because I'm wearing your beautiful pin that you got me from New York, where you just came back. And you know, it's my second home. New York has been my home for many, many years, and it still is in some way. So you came back. We even had, while we were prepping for this panel, I was so happy that I was able to do a FaceTime with your crew, your équipage, as you call it. And you just opened in my former street on 52nd and Lexington. So please tell me about this and how that went.
Oh, it's wonderful news that we've just experienced last week, because after 3 tremendous amount work, 3 years of work, we finally opened a beautiful Café Joyeux. So for those who don't know what is Café Joyeux is just an ordinary coffee shop where you can have good food, which is cooked by and served by our Joyeux crew members who have Down syndrome. They are on the autism spectrum, and they are experts. 60 to 80% of our staff in all our restaurants have people with neurodiversity, and they're just extraordinary. And we just have a mission, which is to put back humanity in the, I would say, so-called gray cities, like Paris, like New York, which are beautiful cities on one side, but so much tuned and driven by performance, by who's the best and who's the bigger and who's the greater. I think these cities, they need a little bit of fragility. They need a little bit of humanity. They require more love. And our Joyeux crew members, they have so much to give to our guests who come to these restaurants. So yes, we just opened in Lexington 52, which is a beautiful location. It's more than a symbol because we are right in the center of Manhattan, where you have all the financial corporation. It's plenty of money. There's so much money. I mean, it's just incredible how much money there is in these neighborhoods. And we just are serving them a beautiful cappuccino, served by a person with a difference that has much more to give. And the funny story is that we opened on the 21st of March last week, which was the World Down Syndrome Day, and it was we say la trisomie 21 in French, so 21 is a symbolic number, and it was our 21st Café, because we have already 20 in Europe, and it's the first one in the US. So we're extremely proud and very happy for all the community of people with neurodiversity.
I'm going to get back to you, but thank you so much for sharing this with us. It's incredible.
I'm so happy to be invited at your table.
Yes.
I thank you. So.
Yes, I'm going to keep coming back to each one of you so we have like the full scope of how diverse we can be in our brains and in our lives. Leah, you are Superwoman. The strongest woman in the world to me is Superwoman.
I'm trying to.
Yeah. And you're competing in the Olympics.
No, I'm not. My sport is not at the Olympics, but maybe soon, I hope.
Yes. And can you tell us about your journey as an athlete and your life within the context of neurodiversity?
So my life is very different from most people because I'm autistic. So I have been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was 21 years old. So at first, the psychiatrists say that I was a gifted child, and because I knew how to read and write when I was 3 years old, and I went to school at 4, and that everything I was facing, like the challenges and everything, it will just go away when I will be an adult, because I was just a child and I have like 2 years different with the other child. And when you have a child that is 4 years old and you have another child that is 6, it seems very little, 2 years old, but when you are a kid, it's enormous, a difference. But I arrive as an adult and I'm like, there is something wrong with me, because a lot of things that seems really simple to do was really, really hard for me. Like to go groceries, to make my groceries, to go to the restaurant, like to just have a normal social life as a student. Even at school, like it was really hard. I was always called like the weirdo. I was weird, having weird behavior, weird answers to people, because I didn't have the cues. I didn't have the social code. And I didn't know how to adapt because I didn't know I was autistic at that moment. So when I got diagnosed at 21 years old, it totally changed my life, because I was like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm just autistic. But that saved my life, actually, because I was like, what I'm going to do with my life? Will I be able to work somewhere in a company? Like, if people want me to work in their companies and stuff, it was pretty hard for me and my parents too, that I just didn't want to live anymore. Like I commit suicide and stuff, and sport changed my life, and having the diagnosis saved my life too, because I was like, I worth it. I worth something, because I'm good what I do today. I'm a world champion, and nothing in my story. I didn't like sport at all when I was a kid. I was just like reading my books all the time. And yes, I think like being autistic actually helped me to be the world champion that I am, because being neurodivergent, it's a strength. Like, I love details, I love routine, and in order to be good at what you do, I never get bored of what I do. I go training every day, and I'm like, oh, it's like the first time I go training again, and I just love it.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you.
So I just want to say that's why I'm really happy to be with you today, because it gets me really emotional when you talk about neurodivergence, and that you take that people and you give them work. It's really special to me, like, really.
Special to all of us.
You too, of course, too.
Meeta, tell us about what you do with Auticon, please. And Auticon is actually not just in the UK, it's also in France.
Yes, so I am Chief People and Social Innovation Officer at Auticon, and very proud of the company and the work we do. We are the world's largest autistic majority employer. We are present in 15 countries now. Our vision really is to build a more inclusive world. And how do we do that? We do that by addressing the inequalities in employment for the neurodivergent. And not just, like you said, can we give people opportunities? No, it's not about giving people opportunities. These are very worthy people who can contribute exceptional amounts to any organization. So we also want to showcase the benefits of neurodiversity in society, and what alternate thinkers, what they can bring to workplaces, what they can bring to organizations, and how they can make a difference to the world. It's been heartening to see some of the conversations at ChangeNOW around today. And I think for some of the challenges that we as a race, we as a planet are facing, are going to require people to be thinking differently, for all of us to be able to look at these problems and say, have we been thinking about it in the same way, going around in the same, vicious circles? So this requires right now, it's the need of the hour for all of us, whatever our thinking style, to put our heads together. And we're not going to be able to address any of those challenges if we keep getting stuck in the same rut of thinking patterns, that all of us need to think the same way, interact with the world the same way, behave and learn the same way. No, neurodiversity is actually a gift for our planet. We just need to learn how to harness that gift now.
Yes. And as I mentioned in introduction, it's like nature. Nature is so diverse, and it's neurodiverse if we look at the way nature functions. So it's only normal that humans would be also this way. Actually, when we were preparing for the meeting, you and I, we talked about Bayo Akomolafe, who is an incredible writer whose son is autistic. And I was lucky to see him at a conference in Bristol last year. And he started by saying that the future is atypical. And I think you are all a proof that the future and the present are all atypical, but the inclusion, I think, needs to be something that's more widespread. And going back to you, the lifelong learning, the aspects of learning is such an important aspect of your work.
Definitely. I think, I think that Meeta wouldn't say the opposite about training and learning. It's the key to success for everyone. And I'd like to ask to all of you to think of, isn't it unfair to say that access to school, access to learning is just a reserved, or it's a sort of like exclusively private road to people, to typical people like myself or you? That's not fair. I mean, is it because I have a difference that I don't have access to a training? Then it's like we're having a society that is bringing disability to neurodivergent people. It's not because they have disability, it's because we don't give them access to training. What we have been doing for now the past 3 years at Café Joyeux is that we have launched a school, and in this school we give them a Joyeux diploma we teach them to run a restaurant, to serve, to cook. And it's not only a Joyeux diploma, it's a certificated diploma. It's a diploma that is certified by the French government, and we are trying to expand overseas as we are opening in the US as well, because we think that this is the key to success for everyone. I mean, we all have children or brothers and sisters, and we're very proud that they are doing some great studies and they have a great academic title. Why can we not have the same for people with intellectual developmental disability? Why is that? So our school is purely dedicated to these people, and we already have 17. It's just the beginning, but we're a startup. 17 young adults who have their Joyeux diploma, and they can claim that they are capable, and they can show that to another company and work in another company, because that is what at stake, is to have a job. Mm-hmm. And this diploma is the key to have a job. And currently we are having 80 students in our Joyeux school called CFAJ. It's a Centre de Formation d'Apprentis Joyeux. It's currently a school dedicated with some national independent jury. It's not me who's giving the diploma. It's a really certified diploma. Mm-hmm. And definitely what you're saying, Nora, is so important. Is we all need to improve, and social improvement goes through professional improvement, goes through recognition, goes through certification. That's why we're running for that. Café Joyeux is not only a restaurant, or 21 restaurants. Café Joyeux is a school, and that is a game changer.
Thank you for sharing that. Such an important aspect. The lifelong learning. In the lifelong learning, Leah, how were you supported in your training, in your achievements? I mean, again, I want to emphasize the strongest woman in the world. Like, it's a record. You broke records. How do you manage to reach the highest sphere of records by the training? What type of training did you get? What type of support did you get other than the diagnosis, which we were going to go to in the second part of the panel? The diagnosis is so important, but yes, what type of support you got for that accomplishments?
That's hard to say, but I don't really have much support, actually. It's really a loneliness journey when you are on the spectrum, because it's hard to make understand to people that you are different. So, for example, we had another panel where I was invited, and I was with another athlete who is disabled, and he doesn't have a leg. And I'm like, when people see you, they can understand better how it can feel to don't have a leg. You can try to process this and imagine. But when you are someone that can talk to you, seems normal, and because he learned how to adapt, it can be really hard to understand that actually you are different and your brain is different. So the luck that I had is, for example, I was a teacher for 7 years, and the luck that I have is to have people that was really benevolent with me and very kind, and that I trust them enough to tell them, well, I'm autistic and I need help. Because, for example, my director told me, I don't care. I'm going to treat you like all the other teacher. But the problem is, I don't process like the other teacher. And the luck that I have is, I had another teacher that was really, really kind to me and helped me with my work, because when I was a teacher in front of my kids, it was really easy because it's my element. But dealing with the relationship with the other teachers, dealing with the academia in general was pretty hard for me. So, it's hard. Right. It's lonely. So that's why, again, when you have people like Yann or Meeta, I'm like, I would have loved to meet them before and have that opportunity, because I'd never had that chance.
But I almost want to say, with what you managed to achieve without the support, think of the potential of what could be done and what could be achieved when people step up, like Meeta. Can you tell us, run us through how you work, how you operate? What's the system?
So the problem we are trying to solve is that neurodiversity is not quite understood in society, forget, embraced, celebrated, and supported. So we are trying to address this awareness and understanding gap. And how do we do that? Now, there are different ways of doing that. You can read a book, you can talk about it, all of you sitting here, we can spark inspiration and ideas with one another. Our focus really is neurodiversity and the workplace, because employment for neurodivergent people is a big issue. It remains one of the largest unemployment gap. One of the disabilities with the largest unemployment gap. We don't call it disabilities, but in some countries it is classified as disability. So what we're trying to do is, foster understanding in organizations about what does it mean to be neurodivergent, what is neurodiversity all about, and how do you support people in your teams who are neurodivergent. Just as a little fact, 15 to 20% of the world population are neurodivergent, which means that most of us, if not all of us, know someone who's neurodivergent, either at a place of work or at home. So if you think you are in an organization and we don't really have neurodivergent people, I can tell you very confidently, you're wrong. You already have neurodivergent people around you. The question now is, are you going to provide them equity? Are you going to provide them the support that they need to be able to thrive, to become the strongest, the best, and be able to be the best they can be, as much as all of us want that for ourselves? So one is that, the understanding. The second is really helping organizations look at what is the infrastructure you've got in place to support neurodivergent people. And this is all the way from your processes. How are you hiring people? We surveyed 1,000 autistic people in employment last year, and 30% a third of them, 30% of them said that finding a job or recruiting or following the traditional recruitment process has been the hardest part of their career. So, there are some things that are just in our recruitment system that are just not set up for the neurodivergent people. For example, vague questions in your recruitment process. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? How many of us have been asked that random question and we just winged some nonsense, rubbish answer and got a job? For most neurodivergent people, that's a challenge right there. They're not going to want to answer a pretty vague and honestly quite lame question. So are we looking at some of those infrastructures in place, right from recruitment to how we support people once they are at work? How are we making sure that they have career development paths, which are not the traditional career development paths that we've seen in traditional workplaces? So all of that, the infrastructure. And the third thing, which I think is very important, which I'd encourage everyone in this room to consider, the best way to understand something is to invite it into your life and have it into your life and experience it firsthand. So we encourage organizations to learn through lived experience themselves. So our model is we employ technologists. We are a traditional technology consulting organization. So we employ technologists, but technologists who are on the autistic spectrum, and we place them in organizations on various technology projects, from cybersecurity to AI, machine learning, data science, etc. But what we also do with that is we have a team of experts, psychologists, occupational psychologists, who work with our autistic technologists and with the organizations to help them navigate this new reality and understand neurodiversity and form their best.
I was recently in the bus. I take the bus in Paris, and there was a woman, beautiful woman with her daughter, who was 5 years old, autistic, and was getting very excited by every billboard that she saw. And a good portion of the bus was rather annoyed because she was loud. She was very loud. She was disrupting people on their phone or reading or whatever. And it turns out we were getting off the same bus stop, so I had some time to speak with her. It turns out she was actually going to an appointment with a doctor for her daughter. You started the panel speaking of empathy. I would love for you three to give one example with the few minutes that we have left of how to be navigating within society that difference. Because obviously the people in the bus, I'm sure they probably didn't understand maybe, or yeah, I think, as you said, it has to be a lived experience. What type of advice, I mean, obviously you make it very easy to experience it, when we arrive in your space, it's such a happy place. I mean, I don't want to go to regular coffees anymore since I've discovered Café Joyeux, like literally. But what piece of advice would you say to just really embrace your own empathy in order to address the difference? It's a hard question, I know.
I don't know. For your question, the first thing that came to my mind is we all have struggles. We all struggle with something. And neurodivergent struggle with just life in general, because just imagine you are in a country where you don't speak the language and you are trying to communicate.
Yes.
And you try hard. You try really, really hard. But no matter what you do, people are gonna look at you and like just what she's trying to say and don't even help you. And I think I always try to understand people and try to make correlation with all the things that I can understand in order to understand them. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, just remember that everyone has their struggles, and you have to spread love and kindness, because we all need that in our life.
Thank you. Yann? Thank you. And that's true. We all need that.
Very shortly, I was writing down a word that you said earlier that touches me very much. You were speaking about benevolence, saying that all these people around you helped you in your combat, and you're a success now, and you're just a pure testimony. And should I reply to your answer about an advice? I would say, open your heart to difference. We're in a world where everyone is frightened, and we try to gather all together with people who resembles you or who look alike. This is not the future we want. We want diversity, but pure diversity that starts from your heart. Open your heart. Look, there is too much selfishness here in this world that poisons us. I would say that the world is thirsty. The world thirsts for fraternity. The world thirsts for love. And there is, on the other hand, plenty of hope. Look at this ChangeNOW project. I mean, this is amazing, just amazed. So many people who want to make the world better. I'm not here to say we'll change the world. We can make it better. That's already a beautiful story. And all together, we can shake that inertia that crushes us, because there is too much inertia, because we are frightened. If we start opening our heart, then we can revive the soul of the system. We need to revive the soul of the economy. That's why we're doing Café Joyeux, because it's like a company, although it's a non-for-profit company, it's in the system, it's in the city, and it's bringing love, and that's what the world needs. And I would say, just to finish, that if we want just to have a small action, it's very simple. Every morning, it's a daily action. You just drink a Café Joyeux. If you just do that every morning, it's full of joy. Every morning, you know that your 100% of your action brings you joy, because you know it's solidaire, because you know it's supporting the mission of recruiting and training people with neurodiversity. And that is a game changer as well. So it is possible. I do trust it.
Meeta, you have the last word, because we're out of time. but
Sure.
you still give us your advice, please.
I think it's just to add on to what Yann said, opening our hearts and minds to the idea that there is no one right way of doing things, and recognizing that neurodiversity is as important to us as a human race as diversity is to the planet. And I'm actually quoting someone, these are not my words, but that's advice that I take for myself, and that's what I'd like to leave you with.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Yann.
Thank you, Nora, for your
Thank
speech.
you. Thank you. The heart. It's not about the brain, it's about the heart. Yeah?
Congratulations for this preparation. It was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That touches me so much. I have to stay on stage, but please, you will find your way. The team in the back can help you. Thank you so much. We're going to continue, and we're going to talk about hearts a little bit more. I would like now to welcome on stage for the second part of this panel, Martina Nadal, who is the partner and the head of social impact at Domestic Data Streamers. Martina, ¿dónde estás? Little moment. You guys don't mind hanging out with me anyways, right? I do like what he said about the heart, because while I was preparing, I was thinking about the heart. So as I said, I would like to welcome on stage the partner and head of social impact at Domestic Data Streamers, Martina Nadal. I also would like to welcome on stage Natalia Vodyanova, who's the founder of the Naked Heart Foundation. Told you we were going to talk about hearts. Welcome, Natalia. Please join us. And I would like to welcome Thomas Bourgeron, a neuroscientist and professor at the Institut Pasteur. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Martina. So in the second part, I think we can delve even deeper into what was said. We closed the first part in talking about hearts and how convenient that we have the founder of the Naked Heart Foundation. I think I like the parallel that Yann made about, you know, to understand neurodiversity, we need to focus on our hearts. Do you agree, Thomas?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, art and a little bit of the brain, but a lot of art, yes.
Yes, a lot of heart. Martina, I would like to, as we're delving deeper into neuroscience and the particularity of our brains, you in Barcelona are working on an incredible project around synthetic memory. And I know it's very complex for us to wrap our heads around it. So we needed a little bit of material support, which you're going to go through quickly with the... I need to connect it to you. Yes, okay. I didn't know what synthetic memory was either, but I'm sure you'll be pleased so much to discover this. If it doesn't work, we'll have to get somebody to do it for us. No, it's good.
So very quickly, hi everyone. I come from a studio where we merge like psychology, social sciences, creativity, and technology to trigger social change. And this project is a project that we started when we saw the boom of AI, and we asked ourselves, how could we use AI for taking better care of one another, no? And that's why this is so much connected with what we are going to talk in here. And basically what we have been doing is using AI to reconstruct the memories of people suffering Alzheimer or dementia, as well as other communities. And the way it works is basically like we have a methodology where we invite people who are suffering these diseases or these conditions to share their memories of their lives. And then there's an interviewer and a prompter, who's basically the person that's taking like all these little stories and transforming them through, like, after asking, for example, which was the first memory they had in their lives, we start like writing to the machine, and we introduce these inputs, what we call the prompt. And with the prompt, what we can generate are images of these parts of the past that were not documented. And thanks to this, we can share these images with the people, and then they start recognizing themselves on the first memories they had. And so we refine the images with their feedback. So what you see here is, for example, the memory of Maria. Maria is 84 years old, and basically her memory was when she was a child, she remembered going to the balcony of an unknown family because her father was a Republican, and during civil war in Spain, they couldn't see one each other, and she, like, her mother rented a balcony in front of the prison so they could have some visual contact, no? So basically we started reconstructing this memory, and Maria would give us feedback, and then we could even like generate these little videos that would recreate this memory from different perspectives, from the perspective of the mother, of the father, and so on. So we started studying how this can be used as a reminiscence therapy tool, which are basically the therapies that stimulate the brain in a very emotional way, connecting with the past, to see if this can be a tool for caregivers, for the families, and so on, to take care of people, and also to connect with memories that may be sometimes traumatic. No, we also went to Brazil to work with migrant communities and reconstruct parts of their pasts, their journeys to arrive to a new country, and all the things that they left and they had to leave, like slavery or forced migration. Also working with other migrant communities in Barcelona, or people who went out of jail and they are relating to their past in a complex way. And we will open the first public office of memory reconstruction in Barcelona, where anyone will be able to go there and reconstruct this as a public service. And lastly, we are also like gathering funds to do a documentary to show the climate change transformation and impact in Mali, and deepening our research also from the scientific part and the artistic part with Google Arts and the Toronto University, to see exactly which can be the further impact of this initiative at an ethical level, technological level, and also compared with other reminiscence therapies techniques. So only to give you a little grasp.
Thank you. I'm going to let everyone digest this, because I'm still digesting it from like 3 weeks ago when you told me. On the day-to-day life, you, Natalia, have been working diligently. You have a legacy of 20 years of work helping children with autism. Maybe you can tell us what you've been doing for all this time.
Thank you, Nora. Yesterday and today I visited ChangeNOW, and I'm really so inspired by all the solutions presented here for the better world. And it's really made me think that as a sister of at the time growing up with a little girl, neurodivergent, we can say that, or with multiple disabilities, I wish some of the solutions were there for us as a family, and this is really what inspired me to dedicate my life to this issue of access to state-of-the-art evidence-based practices. And so today I would love to present to you the 3 principles that we work with at the Naked Heart Foundation. They are accessibility, improving quality of life, and fidelity to our programs. So first of all, I don't know if many of you are aware, but according to World Health Organization, at least 100 of people, 1 in 100 children born with autism, and that is not even, some research suggests that there are even as many as 1 in 36 children born with autism, and that's really a staggering number of children. So That's why our first goal is really accessibility. And in case of autism, it's not necessarily about physical environment, as Leah mentioned very eloquently. It's really knowledge of the society and the access to evidence-based programs. So at the Naked Heart Foundation, over the last 20 years, we've impacted over 25,000 individuals with autism and other special needs and their families. And it's really been an incredible journey. We've done this through educational programs, early education and intervention and establishment of specialized centers. So in order to make it possible, it took us many years to build a network of professionals who are not only professors from the best university in the world, they are genuinely willing to spread and to share their knowledge with the rest of the world rather than making these paid-for programs. And of course, that makes our dissemination process a little bit different because our programs are free and accessible to children, families, to specialists. That means that we heavily rely on donors to support us on this journey. So for the last 2 years, we actually been bringing some of these programs to France. And we started 3 years ago by meeting local experts and local organizations like our own to really build our network to understand the need in France. And we spent a year doing that. We met over 40 organizations. We identified some great organizations that we've partnered with, like with Anne Bibet, with Vivre and Agir Autisme, and well, we met with Thomas, and Thomas has spoken at one of our seminars. This is what we've been doing for the last 2 years. It's really bringing the world knowledge and know-how and local best knowledge and making it accessible to parents, to other specialists, and so just to mention a few, when I say world best experts, it's really, I mean world best experts. For example, Nathan Hall from Marcus Autistic Center. It's Marcus Center. It's the largest autistic center in United States. Or Tony Cassary from University of Los Angeles State University, UCLA, and really many others. And so we're beginning our journey. So our next goal is improving quality of life. So Yann mentioned the fact that training is needed. Leah mentioned that she had struggled in her life, and this is sort of a great representative of spectrum when we're talking about neurodivergence. Leah talking about the fact that her issues are invisible, and Yann talking about these people being unemployed and giving them an opportunity. And of course, Meeta also talked very eloquently about the need of training, of preparing the workspaces. And so this is about really improving the quality of life. So we really, of course, agree at the Naked Heart Foundation that even the most difficult, children that are born with very nonverbal, I mean, let's name it as it is, nonverbal, with great behavior issues. If we start early with the power of the great evidence-based programs, we can dramatically change their lives. So, an example, with early intervention, it's a program that we need to start before 5 years old, and this program will ensure that, well, if there is no intervention, 75% of children with autism will be nonverbal. We understand that communication in today's world is something so important. With the right evidence-based practices, only 25% will be nonverbal. So, of course, even if with this 25% nonverbal, there's alternative, augmentative communication skills and tools that we can give to people with autism. But it's really, I love the neurodivergent movement, and a lot of self-advocates are very right that our world needs to change, not them. But it's true that with early intervention and best practices, we can make difference to lives of children like my sister Oksana, who is still nonverbal at 36. Who knows what would have happened if she had access to programs in early age. But don't worry about her. She's a really happy girl, woman. She also has access to great evidence-based programs. Speech, she communicates with a system called PECS, with cards, and she can say, I'm cold, I want water. She communicates differently than us, but it's still, of course, I as a sister, and I wish she could speak to me, but that's okay. And another important goal for us is fidelity. It's something that we talk about a lot because, well, fidelity is really important because we have the original source of the programs that we have access to. And it's really important for us that these programs, and when we train specialists, that there is no space for misunderstanding, there is no space for misinterpretation. And it's something actually, well, fidelity is actually something that a lot of people do not follow. They think that if they have listened to a lecture, like we have this funny anecdote from one of our seminars when Connie Cassery, who is the founder of this amazing play program called Jasper, and she was presenting her program, and really Jasper is about play. So a specialist, the tutor plays with the child, but in the play there are certain prompts, very important prompts that help the child to gain speech and to correct negative behavior and really to help the child. And so we finished the presentation, we're very happy with it, and then one of the specialists here came to us and said, but we play with our children too. And so, you know, this is when we talk about fidelity. It's really not just because you heard presentation and you heard playing with children. If you play with children, it doesn't mean you're doing Jasper program. You're just playing with them. But Jasper is a method that's evidence-based that requires certain time to learn about. And really, it's all I wanted to mention today is about our principles. So again, accessibility, improving quality of life, and fidelity, and really invite you all to follow us on Instagram. It's a very small account, but we've been. You can really follow our seminars and our forums. You can learn more. You can hear from these incredible specialists for yourself. If you, we have, for example, the next one is on 13th of May, and it's about, because of the coming up Olympic and Paralympic Games, it's about sport and autism. Really fun event. I'm sure also very going to be very interesting for people in the space. And we're bringing great specialists to talk about that. So our Instagram, it's Naked Heart France. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalia. And I want to emphasize that it's true for families, having people in their families who are neurodivergent or living with autism. You give such a great amount of tools and support, and it's all free. So I think coming to the seminars is really helpful, and you get to meet great thinkers and professors, such as yourself, Thomas. Maybe you can tell us, what's it like to be a neuroscientist in France today, working within that scope?
Okay.
And internationally too, because you also work internationally.
So first, thank you very much for inviting me. This is an intense pleasure to be here, because that's, there is neurodiversity, but this is also a diverse team. And I think there are many aspects that needs to be gathered together, because I'm a geneticist first, but I think people cannot be reduced to a gene or a genetic sequence. But I think that genetics is the science of diversity. If there is no diversity in the sequence, there is no genetics. And instead of saying there is a pure genome and there is a genome with a mutation where you are sick or have a disease, it's not like this. It's more like a continuum. So autism was first seen as something very prototypic, some very specific. Then people realized that in the population there are autistic traits, and especially I can tell you in scientists, it's clear that we have some autistic traits. Most of my colleagues have some autistic traits, and I think this is something that can give you more in life, but this is also something that can have some difficulties. So we have to understand what this diversity can do good, and sometimes really it's a difficulty. It's a difficulty because maybe the society doesn't see this diversity as something good. And this was amazing to hear the people that are this éloge to diversity. It's really amazing. But for example, school in France is not maybe the place where it's accepting too much diversity. And I think that one of the key is to have, for some kids and for some adults, you will need a medical care, for sure. But a medical care without education, I think it doesn't work. So children and adults, they don't need to be at the hospital. They need to be at school or at work. So I think it's super important that the medical care and the educational and the workplace, it's a diverse world, work together. But that's not the case today. But there will be a new institute in Paris. That's the best news I've heard of last years in France, because that's and this institute will really work together with it's a really diverse team with psychiatrists, brain imaging people, and people with autism, people with ADHD. I think genes don't care about the diagnostic criteria. I think they're and the genes that are involved in autism are also involved in ADHD. It's a trouble de l'attention et du déficit. I don't know. And so that's all. And I think these are the difficulties. We have to understand why. We have to understand the real reason. I mean, I always say that my father is a psychoanalyst. So he said I really killed a father by finding genes for autism. But this is really still in France. The mother, the cold mother, who were really push back their children, it's still something that people listen when they have a child with autism. So this is really something that we need to really concentrate on the real cause of the diversity in the real good way, and maybe sometime we need some medical care. So that's really something that this is one message I would like to give. The second message is really that we have more and more what we call participatory research. So we knew a lot about autism looking at genes, brains, blah, blah, blah. but we never really listened to the people with autism. And now they are coming. They are really co-creation process. It's really super rich. And they learn a lot. I mean, they learn a lot, but they teach a lot. And for example, even in terms of how to co-create research, how to look at something, for example, the sensory motor problems. I mean, most of the individuals have really high hypersensory. And we were not really looking at this in research, which is one of the main problems of some people with autism. And that's maybe one of the causes of their difficulties to interact with the others. So that's the way we are working now. It's super diverse. We are looking at also at what we call comorbidities. So autism rarely comes isolated. It comes sometimes with intellectual disability, sometimes with epilepsy, sensory motor problems, gastrointestinal problems. And these problems were not really looked at, which is crazy. And one day, sleep problems are huge for the kid and for the family. And I said to the researcher, did you look at the sleep? Did you study the sleep of people with autism? And they say, oh, but people with autism, they don't have sleep problems. And I said, what? And they say, no, they have autism. So if you have autism, you're protected from everything. You know, you don't have a tooth problem. If you cry, it's because you have autism. And I think that's changed now. We are looking at the person as a person, not as a page in a book or a diagnostic. And I think that's the holistic way of looking at autism and at the neurodiversity. Really, I think that now in California, it's 1 in 22 for autism. And I think that the new generation, they look more at the mental health of the young generation. I think it's super great. I think it was a little bit like cancer when I was young. I mean, people didn't talk about cancer. It was like taboo. Mental health is still taboo in my generation as now a guy. But now the young people, they say about mental health issues. And I think this is really great. So, and the last thing, autism, there is 3 males for 1 female. We still don't know exactly why, but we know we are very bad in diagnosing female. With the participatory research now, there is a wonderful woman, I think she's from England, and she said, I get the diagnosis super late, and she said, I get the diagnosis super late because I'm a girl, I can speak, and I'm smart. And I thought it was great, but she has really autism. I mean, and with all and she said that we need to accept more. And I met a lot of mothers of children with autism, and they discovered that they have autism. And this woman, some of the women are using camouflage, so to hide their autistic traits. And these women, they have less quality of life, more anxious, more depressed. And I think that's really awful. So I think we need to accept more diversity in research, which is already there, in school and at work. It's amazing. But really, the diversity as an inclusion, we have to be careful also to have like really inclusion in the society, because they are there. I mean, it's not like they are someone else. I mean, they are.
Yeah, it's part of life. Yeah.
I say none of my friends are neurotypical. So.
For sure. But Martina, speaking of that, in closing, at the beginning I was saying that we know now that there's no brain stays the same over the course of a lifetime. You agree, right?
Yeah, we have, so some numbers, 3 billion of these letters, ATGC, between you and me, 3 million of variants.
Yes.
And the number of synapses, more than the number of stars.
Wow. So never stays the same. And with your work, and I think I wanted to go back to what you said, Thomas, about this new center will be specifically dedicated to neuroscience. It will be all about neuroscience, correct?
Yeah, there will be neuroscience, but there will be a lot of stuff. I mean, it will be really a place when the family are coming.
Yes.
It would be for children, but we are working on the transition from children to adult.
Okay.
This is a nightmare for the families.
Yes.
I mean, when you are 17 and 364 days, it's okay. And when you are 18 with plus 1 day, it's a different world, different specialty, which is really a nightmare. So we want to change that.
Okay.
But there will be not only neuroscience, it will be really like a place to live.
Gathering. And so, Martina, with your work, particularly with Alzheimer's, recomposing memories, we talked about collective memory as well, which how important it is for generations. Some generation, we just have lost some of the memories because we have little civil records, we don't know their stories, and it's so important collectively to understand our common history. So maybe you can touch on that very quickly because we're over time. But
Absolutely.
it's an important topic.
Yeah, actually, like one of the main things that triggered our pilot project was this idea that there's a very big part of population whose memories have not been documented at all or very little documented, and yet